Hey, everybody! Welcome to Wine Wednesday with the Whisperer. Coming at you live tonight with Mr. Ray, already joined, ready with his probably water, but ready to chat. Um, so, we're just having open chat again tonight. We got lots of exciting announcements coming, so stay tuned. But first, I want to welcome Ray. Welcome again, Ray. Hi, Harkins Aquatics. Hi, Salty Reef. Hey, everybody on Facebook and YouTube. Drinking on Merlot tonight. How about you? Let me know in the comments. And just a reminder, as it is open chat, if you have a topic you want to discuss or you feel like joining in, I will put that link up shortly. But Ray, welcome. How are you tonight?
Well, still alive, and still complaining.
And the seahorses are
By the
still
way,
grand?
I can't get YouTube up here. There's no
Hmm.
live showing.
Try scrolling down. For some reason, I was telling Ray before we started the stream. My hair's kind of a mess. Sorry, guys. I mentioned to Ray that when I was starting this up, my app had logged me. My phone had logged me out of YouTube and Facebook. So if you didn't get a notification, go to Seahorse Whisperer Society on Facebook or Seahorse Whisperer on YouTube and just find the live stream that has the live red box on it. I found it on Facebook, and Cheryl has already joined us. Hi, Luce. People are joining, so I don't know, Ray. I don't know what to tell you, but it's kind
Yeah,
of down
it's
there.
Facebook.
I've got a lot of work to do on Facebook, on the Facebook page, guys. So sorry if it's a little difficult. We are
Okay, the live just came up on YouTube.
good. Well, we are fixing it, and
Page, guys. So
oh,
sorry.
mute it, Ray, mute it.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. All right,
I can't
and
mute it before I bring it up. That's the only bad part.
it's okay, no biggie. We're very laid back up in this house, you know. Anyhow, Lucy says apologies for not being in the stream. Her connection's a little weak. It's okay, Lucy. We love that you're always here. You're always here, and we love you. Harkins Aquatics mentioned that for all the MASNA members, just a reminder that the monthly conference call is at 6 p.m. Wait, 6 PST, 9 Eastern. What's PST? Pacific? Is that it? I'm so terrible. I'm terrible with that. PST. Um, anyhow, and I just wanted to let you guys know, and I did say hi to Cheryl. Um, we are in Facebook and YouTube, Cheryl. So if you want to join, I will put up a link up in just a second, or man the comments. Whatever you want to do is cool with me. It's just open chat tonight. But you guys, I wanted to make a really quick, cool announcement while Ray went to feed the seahorses. Um,
Well, didn't go to feed the seahorses. My dog, he just ate his food, and I have to give him his treats.
Oh, well, give the dog the treats. Don't make the dog wait. Lordy, help me. Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that I did make contact with Nuri Fisher, and he's agreed. I'm panning out the details as to the time, so I don't want to announce anything. But after the stream tonight, I should be posting something on all the social medias to let you know exactly the time and date that he'll be here, and he's going to coming to do an interview and answer any of your questions. So to be sure to post lots of early questions on the posts, and also come when I tell you, because it's very exciting to have an actual, somebody who's really high up there come and explain the processes that the food goes through. The food is such a huge topic, feeding is such a huge topic, and we have so many discussions about it that I'm going to try, we're starting with the top at Nuri, and we're going to, work our way all around the board and get everybody in here to explain, and so we can all understand a little bit better the processes that these feeds go through, and etc. And yeah, I know, Cheryl, very cool. I'm really excited. So but I'll make sure to put that post up so everybody can know when to join, and put their questions up early. I'm sure Ray has tons of questions, but just stay tuned for that. Keep it in mind, and be sure to set a notification so you don't miss it, because it'll be really cool. And as you can see, I'm super excited. So yay! And anyways, now that I've said that, you guys got to tell me what we want to talk about tonight, because we don't have the guests. We're just doing open chat again. And Ray, if you have anything you do want to talk about, I can work on getting the links up. Um, Anything going on your end? Anything you wanted to talk about?
I'm too old to start changing now.
start changing. Well, oh, I didn't even, I don't think I even mentioned, sorry guys, but when I say Nuri Fisher, he is the owner of not only, he's the owner of Piscine Energetics, and then he's also co-owner, I think. We'll find out in the interview, of Poma Labs. And so really big stuff. I don't know if you've seen any of the work that's been done on either end, but it's huge. So it's going to be a great interview. I'm really excited. And Harkins Aquatics wants to come in. Let me get that link to you. Ray, you're supposed to man the chat while I'm getting the link. I'm just kidding. I'm just
Well,
kidding. Let's see.
sometimes my mind wanders and I forget about things.
I hear you, but you could talk weather, anything you want. Here, let me see, Harkins, if I actually post these separately. I did do a Bitly link, and I can go. If these don't work, then what I'll do is I will go into the actual YouTube app and recopy it as far as YouTube goes, and etc. But see if these work first. Um, Let me know. And if not, I'm gonna actually go into the YouTube now and try to get that done. But yeah, anybody watching, give me a topic that y'all want to talk about. We could do seahorses, we could talk reef, we could talk wine, whatever you want. It's open chat. And
You can
anybody
talk all you want. I won't understand it.
Ray's over there drinking on some special sauce. No, it's probably water, but you know. All right, here we go. Let's see. YouTube. Sorry, guys. Got to get this. I'm going to mute it so you guys don't get the big crazy screech sound, and try to post this link in the YouTube for Harkins Aquatics to jump in. And Cheryl has combs again, thanks to Dan, and she can hardly wait till they start to produce. Cheryl, I want to hear all about it. I'm so excited for you. We would love to see pictures too. I'm sure you've posted them in a couple places, but very, very cool. All right, I'm working on it.
I envy them. When I had combs, I couldn't even get them to produce fry.
Really? What which seahorses have you been successful with, Ray? While I'm getting this going.
Basically, the Reedi and the Erectus.
Gotcha.
The barbs, I wasn't successful with the fry there, and then they stopped producing.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been any. They still do all their dances and everything, but nothing there. And the abs only had one batch, and then the male that had them died 2 days later.
Oh,
That was just 6 weeks after I got them.
that
So
sucks.
that's a little over 3 years ago. 3 years ago, June, when I got them.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'll tell you what, I had a crisis happen with my barbs that I really believe I would have been successful had the crisis not occurred. But I've never had the opportunity to try with like combs and stuff. That is just really cool. And I've heard they're very difficult, but Cheryl's been successful multiple times, so we'll see how that goes. All right, let me try to copy this and repaste it, guys. See if that works a little better for you. And for the record, well, let me do this so I don't start talking and lose what I'm saying here, guys. All right, here's copy, paste. See if either one, any of these links work, guys. And just to let you know, yeah, see if any of those works, and you can come in and tell us about the Masna and or Macna get call. Sorry. See, when I try to do two things at once, I'm not very good at it. Sorry. Anyhow, just to update you guys, since Ray has nothing, no, just to update you guys, what I've been doing is learning some coding stuff. I won't go into details, but the bottom line is that the website will be done soon. So all of this process hopefully will be done by next week, but will be done very soon either way. Things will be much easier. And I'm just excited because in addition to the website, we're going to have an app too. I can't tell you anymore, but just watch out because it's coming. I'm excited. And we're going to teach Ray how to do apps. It's going to be fun.
Well, how am I going to do apps when I don't have a smartphone?
Oh, well, shoot. Well, that's not going to work for us then. But, you can still, know and help and etc. All right. So Harkins, I'm trying to see what's going on. Let me know if you're. Cheryl said she's losing audio. Let me know, guys. And yeah, just let me know, Harkins, if you're able to get in. I'm just kind of rambling until then. Um, let's see. And Cheryl said lost audio and visual. She says that every time, though. I don't know if it's something here. I think, you know what I think? I think that when I try to do too much, like I try to go into, say, YouTube or etc., and try to do things, I think that that messes up the screens. So from now on, we'll have to start doing that ahead of time. But now I'm kind of curious if we're back up or not. Are we
What is Cheryl watching on? Is she on YouTube or
Facebook? She's
she's on
on,
Facebook?
and I'm showing us live, and I'm able to talk, but I don't know that that means anything. So yeah, guys, let me know. Sorry. Next time I will be certain that any kind of links, Twitch is fine. Okay. If I'll let you guys know any kind of links I'll do ahead of time. I was trying to be a little closer to on time this week. Hi Eric, Carrie, how are you tonight? What's up with you? Do you have lots of topics for us to chat about, seahorses and etc. or reef, whatever you want? We're trying to get a few people. YouTube's been fine. Cool. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, I don't know if it's just Facebook or what. Hi, Tim. Hi, everybody who's joining. Again, everyone, it's just open chat tonight. So if you have a topic that you'd like to discuss, please mention it in the comments. Feel free to try one of the links to join. And I've already made the assurance that next week I'll do all the links ahead of time so that it won't do any freezing. Okay, guys? But, anyways, all
For
right.
what it's worth, I went to the Facebook I have here, and I went to it, and I just briefly hit unmuted it and then muted it again, and I did have sound there.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, and the other thing we're going to do is I haven't been attaching the cable to make the connection a little stronger because we got fiber, so it's supposed to be so great. But I'll try that next week too, just to make sure that it's not on my end, guys. So apologies, but just rejoin if it kind of fades out, and I'll make sure we're better by next week. Anyhow, so who wants to choose the topic that we discuss? You all don't want to hear me ramble about, making apps and stuff. So tell me what you want to talk about. We've got Tim. I'm sure he'd like to hear some conservation talk. And hey, Sam, what's up? Somebody give me a topic, or I'm going to keep rambling. And I guess Harkins never was able to get in, which is a bummer. Um, Let me know in the comments if you're still trying, sir, or if something. I know he was going to discuss the MACNA or MASNA call that's coming up. So hopefully he'll join in a minute. I also sent a link to Dan, but Dan's awful busy person. So we'll see. I'm going to close this on YouTube see if that helps, guys. Let me know if that's any better for you. If connection's better. Okay. And Salty Reef said, good starter display style macroalgae that I recommend. Whoa. Okay, so actually, Ray, I'm going to let you take this first. What do you advise people to use as far as macroalgae when they're just starting out?
If you're in Canada, you take what you get, which isn't very much.
Right. We have it a
The only
little.
reason I have anything is because I bought a coral, and then later on the algae grew out of it.
Oh man.
But
Well,
other than that, like trying to get mackerel here in Canada, uh,
well,
it's rough.
Well, I do know of quite a few people that are trying to resolve that. And you never know. See, if you get the macro growing really well, you could be the next supplier in Canada. Could be a thing. And okay, now I'm getting topics going. All right. Okay, so as far as starter macros, my first answer, I don't mean to be like Dan, but my first answer would be it completely depends on what you're trying to do. Sam actually mentioned that she's battling pest algae, nuisance algae, and if you're looking to outcompete nuisance algae or trying to reduce nutrients with algae, display algae, or sump algae, then that will make a big difference in what I would advise you to use. Also on areas, because like in the US, caleras are still a good thing. I know Lucy uses a few, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lucy. But, so I don't personally like most of the species of Callaripa, but they're great as nutrient reducers. So again, it would completely depend on what your goal is. If you're trying to reduce nutrients or make it pretty, and I think you did say display style, so I'll jump to that now. Sorry, Salty. For display style, let's see. I would have to actually make sure that I was pronouncing the names right. You've caught me off guard. Wonderful. But let's see. For instance, I really like red grape, which is, I'm going to mess this pronunciation up. I know it, but like Boto, Clad, right? Yeah. Hi, Kim. Anybody who's good with pronunciations, jump in anytime. But I'm going to say the basic hobbyist names just to kind of get it right here. I really like the red grape algae. I can put links in the comments to the actual technical terms. Sam, don't laugh at me. I'm terrible with pronunciations. You know
I
this.
think that's similar to the one that I have growing on this rock here, the one I sent the picture of to you.
Yes, I believe so too. But it's a good one that's hardy, that does help with reduction of nutrients. It doesn't spread real crazy in my experience. And it's very colorful, pretty. It actually changes colors. Like if you put it really close to the light or certain types of light, I've got pictures on Seahorse Whisperer Society of my refugium. It was in my refugium, but I had the tops yellow and the bottoms dark red and the middle pink. I mean, so if you're looking for a cool thing to kind of make different colors and make the display prettier, I really like the red grape algae. And I will put a link, like I said, to the proper pronunciation, to the technical term. And you couldn't say it either, Sam. All right, I feel better. I should be prepared for these things, but I never am. All right. In addition, if you can find it, I found that it's kind of hard to find anymore, but Blue Scroll is so cool in a seahorse display. It's not great like for hitching and things like that, but we've got other things for hitching, right? So in any type of macro display tank where you're not really looking at nutrients, you're looking at pretty, I really, really like Blue Scroll. It grows outward into like a plating pattern. And when you look down on the tank, I'll tell you what, Krista is the macro queen. And in one of the macroalgae groups that she runs, she's posted quite a bit of pictures of Blue Scroll. And it's very close to Padina, I believe it's pronounced, which is like potato scroll or something like that. They're pretty much, pretty similar in species. And the bottom line is you look down on the tank and it looks like a freaking flower field. It's so pretty. So I really like Blue Scroll. And I know. And I'm curious what kind of macros you do have available in Australia, Sam, though. Let's see. So Blue Scroll, if I was to start a new display tank today, I would do Blue Scroll. I'd do the red grape. I personally really like, again with the pronunciation, Fonchea. Am I saying it correctly? Fonche, something like that. I'll put the links in the description in case I'm saying it incorrectly. But it's like this really soft, pink, rubbery kind of algae that grows, and it literally looks like a flower coming out of rock. So I wish I'd known you were going to ask this. I would have gathered pictures to show you guys during the stream. But Dragon's Breath, Harkins Aquatics, yep, absolutely. Dragon's Breath is a really good one too, and that's a good one for either situation. So Dragon's Breath is one of those fast growers, and the reason that it's typically better than like Callaripas is because it doesn't spread in the same way. If you get into the details of it, we're talking about simple algae versus complex, and then there's just so many differences. But I personally steer clear from the Callaripas, go with the Dragon's Breath with the different Gracilaria or Halamidia, however you pronounce it, those types. That's my preference. So Gracilaria, Halamidia, Blue Scroll, and I think Red Grape actually falls into one of those categories, to be honest. I think it's one of them, but I think it's a Halamidia. Anyways, bottom line is those are the main key things that I jump at as far as starter. Blue Scroll might be a little more intermediate, to be honest. But the problem is, and you guys tell me your opinions in the comments, please. The problem is that most of the Gracilaria and the Halamidia are all red. And so if you're looking for colorful, it makes it kind of difficult. Another algae that I really like. Sorry, Ray, you can interrupt me anytime. But another algae that I really love is it's called Tuft jointed algae, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But Tuft jointed algae is like it literally looks like little green flowers, little puffies at the end. The person who introduced me to this macroalgae was Ladies Frag Swapping Group. What is her name? Anne. Anne from Ladies Frag Swapping Group can explain all about Tuft jointed algae. And again, I'll put those links when we're done, but it is one of the prettiest. It's one of my absolute favorites. And it's hard to find, but if you find it in a local frag group like Ladies Frag Swapping, then there's usually someone that's willing to send you a piece. It's a great grower. Yeah, Tuft algae. Yes. And all of these algae, just for the record, guys, the question was, what algae would I put in a new display tank if I was setting up, or what do I recommend to beginners? And so I'm thinking of the easiest to grow, the ones that don't require a lot of work and a lot of pruning and a lot of harvesting, and however you want to put it, the ones that are easy to keep in a display without a bunch of issues. So that's where I'm going with my answers here. Just easy growers, not difficult, and make the tank look pretty. So if you're looking at nutrient reduction, different story altogether. Although Gracilaria and Halamidia will be good for both. So I know it gets confusing. That's what I was
Are
going to
the
say.
macros easy to get anywhere in the States, or is it situational, like certain areas that are able to get it and others have problems? Or
Well, I'll tell you this. I believe it's GCC. I wish I was better prepared. I'm going to look it up in a minute. But I believe it's Gulf Coast Ecosystem is a company in the U.S. I believe it's based in Florida, I think. Anyways, either way, the guy who runs its name's Russ. He's great. He's awesome. He was kind of down, not doing much business for a while because he of personal stuff. But the bottom line is he's back. And so a lot of people stopped going to his website because there wasn't much to offer. And now he's got most of the things that I'm talking about as offerings. He does have a lot of calerepas too, so just beware. Anything with a calerepa is going to be a very fast grower that you're going to have to harvest constantly and will outgrow other macros if you put them in the display with it. Yes, Kim, I will say that for sure. The thing with Gulf Coast Ecosystems macros is that they are collected by Russ. So if you're buying from Russ, you have to be very careful to quarantine or, really seriously inspect. Some of the macros can be dipped, many of them cannot. So I typically put them in a separate, small, not much to it display tank to observe and, of course, give them light and stuff like that. But just to see if there's any aptasia, any problems, it's still a risk. So I'm just making that clear. He does have a wide selection. I've not had personal problems, but know the risk. And there's also other places like Algae Barn. Algae Barn, Ray, actually offers literally clean algae that they have grown in house, that they've grown in tanks, like literally I'm not sure their entire process. We'll have to get somebody from Algae Barn in here to do an interview, eh? What do you guys think? Lots of comments will make me get them in here. But anyhow,
and see if they'll open up a branch in Canada.
We can ask them when they're on. Absolutely. One of my questions for Nuri is how to get the frozen foods here without so many problems. But we won't tell that yet. Anyways, I'll try to get somebody from Algae Barn in here to talk about their clean algae for sure, because they do have a lot of kits that will like literally get you set up. Most of their kits, I think, are aimed at refugiums. But if you talk to someone there, or I'll take a look when we get off the stream and try to post a link that I would personally purchase for my, startup display tank. They do have some really nice offerings, even though they're targeting more of the refugium type aspect. But Algae Barn is really great because you know that they stand behind their clean algae, meaning I believe the process, sorry if I'm wrong, but I believe the process is that however they get it in, they quarantine it. They probably take new growth, put it in a separate tank, and like reproduce it, grow it, whatever you want to call it, and then sell that. So you're getting algae that's been grown in sterile conditions, and you technically don't have to worry about aptasia, hydroids, parasites, whatever your worry might be. If you're worried about it, the safest bet is to buy cultured. You know, so and Harkins, you can get Piscine energetics at your LFS, no problem. Well, lucky dog. I'm trying to remember. I get people confused where you're from. Girls, quiet. Sorry,
Yeah, we
kids.
have no problem getting it here in Canada.
You don't?
No,
Well, that's. I think
but here
it's.
it's a Canadian product anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. They're harvesting. They're in Canada, so that makes sense. Where I live, I have to literally drive an hour to get it, and then you're talking about I have to have ice packs to in a cooler in order to get it back. And then if I try to ship it, I've never had a good experience with shipping foods. Have any of you had a good experience with shipping feeds? Frozen, I mean, because I have not. But anyways, so I got off track there. Sorry, guys. But Algae Barn, Gulf Coast ecosystems, and I told you the conditions of both of those. Let me think. There are a couple of other ones. I think it's LA Reefs, um, became Aqua Depot, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong again, guys. But I think that they're the same company, I'm pretty sure. And I don't have anything bad to say about anybody, but when you order from them, please be sure, or if you order from eBay, or if you order from any of those type places, be sure that you talk to the seller first. Be sure that you understand how big of a piece of macro you're going to get, and ask if it was cultured or collected, if that's a worry to you. Because I've ordered from certain places before, and it's just been extremely small and not what I expected. Like you order from Gulf Coast Ecosystems, and you get a bag like this, no joke. You order from Algae Barn, it's a smaller bag, but it's literally cultured. So it's you order from some of these other places like eBay, and if you don't look at the fine print, you're gonna get something like this, and it's probably collected anyways. But just beware. And Harkins and I plan to ask about direct shipping. Plan on it, plan on it. Kim, you got engaged? Woo! Yay. Hey, Harkins. Actually, Kim, I'm so excited for you. Get in here and show us the ring. Like, girl, come on. We want to see it. But uh, I'm not trying to take away from your moment. Just, yay. Woo! Tell us all. We really are excited. Tell us more. And Harkins Aquatics, could you not get in? I missed the yay or nay. Please let me know if you could not get in, because I was hoping you could talk about the call coming up, and I didn't know where that went. So let me know if you
Did you
can't get
send
in.
them the same link you sent me?
Well, I don't have his email handy, to be completely honest, and that's what it takes. That's something that'll come with the website. People will be able to enter their email and then get a link each week. I just don't have it done yet, unfortunately. So no, you, Dan, and Lucy are the only ones who get the good links. If Lucy happens to see this, if you want to message Lucy your email, she can absolutely send you one. But Harkins is usually able to get in um, to the stream. So let me know if you can't, and what's going on. And yes, again, congratulations, Kim. So excited for you. But yeah, guys, let me know. Hi, Lisa. Oh my goodness. Hi, Ken and Jill. Sorry. Hi, Jill. Hi, Justin. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Kurt. Hi, everybody watching. If you guys have anything you want discussed, we're kind of doing open chat tonight. Have a big guest coming hopefully next week, but this week we're still just doing open chat. So let us know if there's anything you want
Pam had a
discussed.
question.
Yeah,
She was wanting to know about nuisance algae, how to control, what methods and that to control the, I think it was the nitrates and the phosphates.
sure. And again, like my typical answer, if someone asks me that outright, I try to learn a little bit more about their system. Sam, I know you know what you're doing, so I won't quiz you on the specifics. But to be completely honest, what I do is run a refugium or scrubber in the sump. That's what I do. That's the way that I've always typically dealt with nuisance algae. I will say this though, that and we'll hear Ray's opinion in just a second, but Cruz Arias, elegant corals. If you want a really detailed guide on how to deal with nuisance algae, check out Elegant Corals. They have a lot of different guidelines in order to deal with different specific nuisance algae, like dinos, like hair algae. They have different step by step walkthroughs. And they might use methods you don't like or do like, whatever, but it's a good resource. So check out Elegant Corals. I'll try to remember to put a link when we're done. And aside from using the refugium or a scrubber attached, um, bacteria is something else. Adding good bacteria seems to really help. There are quite a few products. I haven't had luck with most of them. Ray, what are your thoughts while we're talking about this? What?
Well, everybody probably knows mine from my postings.
Yes.
Uh, I'm the great believer in what goes in must come out. And when you're putting the food in, you have to have enough uh, in your protocol, whatever you're doing, to have that removed. And people keep saying, well, I've got cleanup crew. Well, cleanup crew eat some of this detritus, but they leave their own. And so that gets processed too. And again, you still got nutrient in the tank. You're still not getting it out of the tank. So while some of it is used up, there's a hell of a lot more that the nuisance algae are only too happy to use it up. So you have to get it out before they do. And it's a it's a slow process usually building up to the point where you get it. And it's also going to be slow getting rid of it. And it just means you have to look at what you're feeding. Maybe you're feeding too much at one time. Feed more times, smaller amounts. And the other thing is look at what you can do to take it out. In other words, you can do better cleanups, vacuuming more frequently, more severely, larger water changes, more frequent water changes, a lot of things. And sometimes it's not just any one thing in particular. It's maybe a combination that might work best for your particular case. But it's hard for anybody to determine for you what you need on your particular system.
Sure.
It's a case of you're going to have to try something and just know that if it's not working, then you're just not doing enough.
Right.
So,
And while I agree with everything that he just said, if you have, for instance, if you have a display tank and you don't have a sump or refugium, and you're not planning on adding one, then he's absolutely right. Someone in the comments, Harkins, I believe, mentioned protein skimmer. Things like that. You use equipment when you don't have extra space. If you're not able to add extra volume and extra equipment down below, you're going to have to add it to the tank. Sam, in your particular case, this is why I should have asked questions. Because when you said nuisance algae, I was thinking of like turf algae on the rocks or in the sand or, slime, something like that. Really nuisance, what normal people consider nuisance. What you're talking about is a caulerpa. Oh boy, different topic altogether. The only way I have ever beaten caulerpa when it's come into the tank from a source I didn't know it was coming in on, as in your case, on your rock. The only way I've ever beaten it is taking an extremely long time by doing the sump refugium type deal and putting better lighting on the refugium than was over the tank, literally, because I wanted the refugium to grow faster and more and etc. That was the only way, and it took a very long time. In the other case, I saw Lucy mention Mexicana. Yeah, I had that take over one my 65-gallon display, and I literally, and it had Aptasia. It was a freaking mess, you guys. And I ended up taking out half the rock, bleaching it, recycling it, putting it back, and then taking out the other half. And that's still a risk because there was a chance of cross contamination. I got really lucky, but the bottom line is I had to, recycle all the rock because of that Mexicana. You can do it other ways. Raise right, outcompete the nuisance algae is the bottom line. And using things like good bacteria and skimmer and better water changes, bigger water changes. But Ray, I'm curious
Well,
with
for me, I'm not. I wasn't talking about nuisance macro.
oh, okay,
I'm talking about the uh,
nitrates and phosphates.
algae that builds up on your grass and on your rocks and that kind of thing.
See, that's what I thought we
Macros
were
are
talking
going to
about
be,
too.
yeah, the macros are going to be harder to get rid of if they're a type that get by on very little
Oh yeah,
nutrient. The Mexicana, yes, doesn't take much for it to survive.
yeah, it's terrible. And Sam, keep us updated. Let us know what you end up doing and whether it works. I saw someone from Facebook said they're, let's see. Oh, we got lots of questions on Facebook. Sorry. All right. So Holly wanted, well, actually, first, sorry, guys. Somebody said that they were getting a Santa Monica drop turf scrubber and getting ready to add it to the system. I want you to know that Santa Monica is actually one of our channel sponsors. They're awesome. Their scrubbers are awesome. They're great, and the company is excellent at sharing, what you might need to do, the sizes, the specs, etc., and really helping you out getting that going and getting it to work on your system. Holly also asked, "Hi Annette, hi Kurt. Wow, lots of viewers tonight. Hi everybody. Just another quick comment. Make sure to watch the posts this week because there will be a huge announcement about a very cool guest interview coming up that nobody's going to want to miss. So watch the announcements. Tonight's just open chat though, so let me know if you want to talk about anything. All right, Holly asked, how early can you add macros into a newly cycled tank? Ray, you want to go first or you want me to?
Well, being that I've never introduced any in a newly cycled tank, I'm not the one to advise on that one.
Well, I would actually, I'm trying to lip read, sorry. I would actually agree with you and say that while I think we talked about this a little bit last week too, but while you can, of course, add algae to a cycling or newly cycled display, I personally don't because of the fact that, in my opinion, unless you know exactly which algae you are going to put in the display and or the refugium, and exactly how you're familiar with that algae already, unless you're already familiar, you don't know if you're going to want to keep it forever. You don't know if it's going to grow well in your display, etc. And the thing is, if you use macros during the cycling phase, first of all, the tank never goes through its natural processes, in my opinion, and it uses the macro as part of the cycling. Like macro can take up ammonia, macro can take up, all these different things through different
But it's still
processes.
going to be a part of the system. And if you're leaving it in afterwards, of course, that's it's going to be the same. So it doesn't matter. It's only going to matter if you're putting it in while it's cycling and then going to take it out after.
Right. That's all I was saying. I agree, Ray. And Dan made that point last week that if you plan on keeping it the same way, then I guess it's okay. I just personally, I would love to hear from a scientist because, in my personal opinion, I think it affects the cycle. So that's going to be my answer. I could be very, very wrong. And many people have added macros during the cycle or right afterwards and did just fine, kept it in there. But I personally just like to cycle my tank completely. And literally, when I say completely, there's a big difference between cycled and established. And so I usually wait quite a while, 6 months to a year, before I even think about adding stuff. Now, again, I always have to say, but if you have a different method of cycling in which you're not taking the long route to cycle, that changes everything because then you're not going through that process anyway. So a lot of things depend on a lot of things as per usual, but my personal answer is I wait. Uh, and Harkin said 6 months to put in macros also. Post cycle, right. Everybody's kind of agreeing. And again, it depends on your situation, Holly. So, and if you have an opinion, get in here and let us know or comment it. If anyone has an opinion, I'm not always right, I promise.
I'd like to see some opinions from those people to tell me how it's affecting the cycle negatively.
Right. Yeah. So anybody who's actually more familiar with the scientific aspect, if you happen to see this show, and I'll try to hunt down some answers for us too, guys. But it's just my personal opinion that it affects the cycle, and I'll try to find someone with a little
In
bit more
theory,
experience. Go ahead, Ray.
it shouldn't affect the cycle.
I do get it. I get it. That's why we want. That's what I want to hear. So, I mean, well, okay. Let me ask you this: if it doesn't affect the cycle, then why is everyone commenting saying, "Oh yeah, wait"? I'm just curious. If it doesn't affect the cycle, what's the
Why does
reasoning?
everybody have low water flow in their tanks?
Well, what?
Because somebody started it saying that, and it just got perpetuated on all the forums, and everybody believed it.
It could be
So it was
true.
years before that was shown to be a bad idea.
Hmm. I mean, I don't disagree. You could be absolutely right. Um, And let's see, Sam said she let her good macros grow from live rock, but didn't put in algae as such. Yes, but Sam, basically, the algae was already in the tank and live rock when you started the tank. So that's kind of proof that I'm wrong, if it didn't affect the cycle. But then again, if you're talking about rock with algae within and on it, spores already there that are going to grow, well, we've discussed, you're having a really hard time getting rid of them. That's another point. Even if it doesn't affect the cycle, once your system is dependent upon them, if you ever don't want them in there again, you're just, you could possibly run into issues. That we'll just leave it there. Possibly you could
But
run
you don't
into
have that
issues.
problem even if you put it in after 6 months.
I don't know that that's true. I personally think that once the tank, I'm just thinking of basic ammonia. That's what I'm thinking of. Is it affects the bacteria, the ammonia, etc., like that. Again, could be wrong, guys. If you have experiences in which you did a really great job adding the algae in the beginning, share them. As I said, I'm not always right. And I think, let's see, Salty's in. Did Harkins ever get in? I don't think he did.
Yeah, and he's posting here that it draws ammonium nitrates and phosphates, all required for growth. That's true. That's what you're doing in cycling the tank. And so if you put macro in there, it's doing part of its job in cycling the tank, and it will continue doing that after the cycle's complete. It's a part of it, and it's going to keep on. Um, Perhaps if you put it in later, and it's already cycled, you put it in later, then it's going to start drawing some of that nutrient that is processed by, say, the live rock that's in the tank. It'll draw some of that nutrient away from the live rock, and so some of the bacteria that's working in the live rock will no longer be required, and that'll be a slight die-off. But it's not going to affect the end result because the macro is taking up. So the net result is a zero.
Right.
One takes more and the other does less.
Well, Harkins just helped me put what I was trying to say into better words. Thank you. But he said the fear, not saying I know for a fact scientifically that this is correct, but the fear is that it could outcompete the good bacteria. And when you're
But it's
doing,
going to do that when you add it later.
I don't think it does. I really just don't think that it does, because once you
Then
have
it's
the
going to
cycle
die off.
going,
If you don't change anything in your tank and you add that macro later,
mm-hmm.
the bacteria in the rock is taking all this up uh, to handle the situation as it's needed. It gets to the level that's required and doesn't go any further unless you increase the food that it needs, like another batch of ammonia or something. Well, when you put in the macro, it's either going to die or it's going to take up the nutrient that the rock is using, that the bacteria on the rock is using.
Well, that actually brings me to reason number two why I wait. Let's think really quickly about the average cycle of a tank. Okay, you go through the ammonia, nitrate cycle, right? That whole deal, and then with bacteria. And if you go through it completely with bacteria, then you have a cycled tank. I've mentioned multiple times that it doesn't become established until it's set that way for a while. And once it's set that way for a while, even when you're doing water changes in the normal pace, what typically happens to an average tank? The nitrates and the phosphates start growing. Because let's face it, we're not Mother Nature and we can't keep up with what she can, okay? And so typically, most people begin to see, oh, I've got nitrates rising, I have phosphates rising, I better do more water changes or something. This is the point that I would add algae, macros, personally, because then they do that work for me based on the excess nutrients and phosphates. See, I'm not an expert, guys, on the science part of algae. I can only tell you what I've experienced. But in my mind, as a non science person, I'm thinking that algae can use different nutrients based on the situation, or some of them anyways. For instance, chloropa, you can't kill the stuff, right? I mean, it's going to grow whether there's nitrates, phosphates, or anything in the tank. It's still there and everything else is dead. And so to me, an algae like that, I think that it can somehow, and anybody scientific, please correct me if I'm wrong, but my thoughts are that it can choose what it uses to grow. So, for instance, if it's put into a newly put up tank, it might use ammonia. If it's put into a situation where there's no ammonia because it's already in a cycle tank, it's not going to start taking up ammonia from the bacteria. I don't think. I think that it would then use the nitrate phosphate in that situation. Please correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that's what I personally think.
Well, I don't think it's going to, I don't think it's taking up the ammonia as such. It's taking up the nutrients right out of the water, and it's not just the ammonia. It'll take up nitrates when they are produced. But I don't know, all the years I was reefing, I never had to add anything to lower my nitrates.
Really?
Uh, like if the tank's set up properly, it should be self-removing. Uh, the anaerobic layer in the rock processes the nitrates
Right.
into gases that are given off that are not lethal, and it escapes out through the normal system. Um, the same thing should happen with the Seahorse tanks, other than there's a heavier bio load, but properly set up, that heavier bio load should still be accommodated. You can do to excess, but you can do that in the reef tank too. And I was guilty for many years of doing things to excessive feeding and that in the tanks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had my problems over the years with the nuisance algae. But when I finally decided to feed less at a time, making sure that there wasn't anything left over, and rinsing the stuff in a coarse net so that the small particles that are very unlikely to be eaten by the seahorses get washed away. Um, that kind of thing started improving the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then coupled with um, doing a better job of cleaning and the larger and more frequent water changes. So now, as you know, I keep a lot of seahorses in a tank that's way too small for the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
but I can still do it. And at one time, I used to try the various removers, those iron removers and so on. I never found that it helped much, not compared to what I could physically control by doing water changes, better cleanup, cleaning out the filters faster instead of letting them go a week. Do clean them after 3 or 4 days. So
Well,
uh,
I just want to say
all
really
right.
quickly that this is why I absolutely love these conversations, because Ray and I can have two completely different opinions, and I'm listening to him and I'm considering his thoughts, and it's a great conversation. I love that you guys are putting your thoughts in the comments. Great, because everything is not equal in every tank. So different things work for different people. I do know that when you were comparing, Ray, and Salty, I do see you. So I promise I'm going to let you jump in just a second. Sorry, this is a fascinating conversation to me. So Ray, one more thing, one more question for you. When you're talking about the difference between a reef and a seahorse tank, you did mention the denitrifying bacteria. And the issue I have with the whole conversation is that in a reef, you typically have sand, first of all, most people, and there's that whole difference, especially if you have a deep layer sand bed or whatever they call it, I don't, deep sand bed or whatever. That's the denitrifying bacteria, and also depending on the rock. A lot of people set up seahorse tanks with no rock and like K1 or something in the sump. In that case, they're usually either in a situation where they're breeding and they don't keep the tanks up that long, or they're doing massive water changes, or they're using macros or whatever. But I'm just saying, I could be wrong, but I don't think denitrifying bacteria really plays a part in a seahorse tank that doesn't have sand and lots of rock for a really long time. Maybe someday, K1 or whatever, but I just personally, I have high doubts about that. And
With
so,
my reefing, I was Berlin system, which is bare bottom,
really,
rock for your filtration,
hmm
uh,
was it like 2 pounds a gallon though?
large protein skimmer.
Was it a lot of rock though, Ray?
Pardon me?
Was it a lot of rock?
Uh, Usually about some systems were about 3/4 of a pound per gallon,
Oh, that's not too
and
bad.
other systems were a pound per gallon.
Hmm.
And when I bought rock, I bought only rock that felt light in the hand
Hmm.
because it's more porous and has much better capability of having more bacteria to do a better job. People keep on buying base rock back when I used to be in this. They'd be wanting this base rock because they could buy it cheap, but it's heavy. And if it's
Hmm.
heavy, it's not porous. And if it's not porous, it can't have as much bacteria. So you're defeating the purpose. You can pay a little bit more and get a smaller piece of rock that is going to do much more than this big piece of rock that you're going to have to buy more of to do the same job that you could have done with the light porous stuff.
I hear you. And really quickly, I think the newcomer who I heard the crack of the bottle and I see the Dan Seahorse face. Yay! Welcome, Dan. I'm so glad you're here to probably correct me some more. Yay!
I'm going to run and feed my seahorses now.
Okay. All right. First of all,
So,
go ahead, Dan.
something about notice. I had to see what that was about.
I know. I saw the nudist, you naughty girls, in the comments. I'm pretending I don't see it. And before I even ask your opinion on what we were just talking about, Salty, you've been waiting patiently. Did you have something you wanted to share, or are you just in to help?
No, I just came in.
No, I meant Salty.
Oh,
He's got me muted, so I guess he's just here to help. But if you
No,
do,
I was just here to help.
okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't ignoring you. I'm so sorry. All right, Dan, go ahead and repeat your thoughts. I know you have some on what I was. You probably didn't hear it, but I was basically saying that I think different algae might take up things in different situations in different ways. And scientifically, I personally We had this discussion last week and you had a difference of opinion with me, so share your thoughts.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
The question is when to add macros. Does it matter? Can you add it right after the tank is cycled? Do you need to wait? What's your thoughts?
Well, that I don't know the correct answer. I've seen people try to add it in the beginning before there was really anything going on and had difficulties. And it seems like it's easier to add to a tank once it's established.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That goes. So I'm good with that answer. That was one of my answers. We were just Ray and I were kind of going back and forth, and I have a feeling I'm probably somewhat wrong. Big shocker, but we were
I don't
just
know. I don't grow algae, and I don't use them in my system, so I'm certainly not an expert.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this then, because one of the things that we were getting into is denitrifying bacteria, and I'm curious because he was making a comparison to yes, Kim's mentioned that macros need nitrates to grow. The thing that I was saying, Kim, is that in my research I've learned that at least certain macros can change what they use to grow. Like for instance, caulerpas, that's why they end up in a tank even when everything else is dead. They're still growing, and you're like, what the heck? There's not even light and this stuff's growing. Poor Sam is in the same situation with Mexicana. And I just think that certain algae like that is capable of saying, oh, there's ammonia, I'm going to use ammonia to grow. Oh, there's nitrate, I'm going to use nitrate to grow. And that kind of thing. I don't think all
Well,
algae's like that, but go ahead.
well, they're using nitrogen and what Kim is saying, nitrates, which is part of the nitrogen cycle.
Right.
So some can switch quicker to other forms of nitrogen than others.
Right. Thank you for saying it more properly than I was. Yes, thank you, Kim. That was a good point, and thank you, Dan, for putting it in better words. Okay, so my question actually was though, in a typical like breeder seahorse tank or in a tank that's set up with like fake plants, say, and whether they have adequate filtration in the sump or in a different area or not, um, is there denitrifying bacteria in that type of system?
Well, there's denitrifying plants, but I don't know about denitrifying bacteria. Denitrifying bacteria typically need an anaerobic environment.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was trying to say is that my fear is that saying that you can add at any time, I don't know, just because a reef tank is so different to me. I know Ray was saying he did the Berlin method, bare bottom, as did I, but I had a huge refugium with, so I wasn't. Anyways, I used a deep sand bed with refugium in my sump, and which equaled it out. So I just fear that when people doing seahorse tanks using way less rock, way less media, probably not enough in most cases because they're doing fake plants and such, that algae could be a very good thing, but don't count on that old denitrifying bacteria in any case, shape, or form. Is my thought, but we were just talking about
Well,
it.
yeah, a lot of live rock helps with denitrification because there's areas in the rock that have anaerobic areas where the denitrifying bacteria can live.
Sure.
Same thing with a deep sand bed. I mean, you could conceivably set up a bucket to flow your water across with a deep sand bed and set up a denitrifier that way. You could buy an actual denitrifier,
Mm-hmm.
which I used years ago when I tried to build a water reclamation system.
Nice.
Um, and then, of course, the old standby that my preference would be a algae scrubber.
Yeah, we did mention that at first. That is what I've used in many situations to handle this. And in my reef, actually, really quick, I would just want to say because Harkins did try to join and he wasn't able to get in. Anyone who is interested in or involved with MASNA or MACNA, their call started at I believe 9. Their conference call. So feel free to jump in there. Don't miss that because we're just chatting tonight. Anyways, back to the topic. Yeah, that's what we did originally say that, scrubber is the best method. In my reef, as I mentioned, I had a huge refugium. I'm not very good with the science part. I just know what's worked. Cruz, I mentioned that people should go to his page because he's the one that helped me with my reef. I had nuisance algae all over my reef, and we used bacteria, peroxide, and bubbling, and it was perfect until I let it go to crap. But he had my tank running smoothly for years without water changes or anything. It just balanced out. So there's something to the whole balancing act. I don't know. Anyways, I'm rambling. Go
It's
ahead.
interesting if you look at my systems. I rarely check for nitrates, and I do it maybe once every few months. And when I have checked them, very rarely have they been very high. They typically run about 20 or 30 parts per million, and I'm really not running anything as a denitrifier.
Well, okay, now you use K1 and that's it?
K1, and yeah, that's really the only type of media that I have, and that you know that's not designed for denitrification.
Now, see, I thought that if it was cycled long enough and continued long enough that it would form those. That's what I read on the page. Anyways,
No
could
anaerobic bacteria.
okay. I believe you. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. Now, Dan, but is it the case when you're in your tanks? Stop talking nudes, y'all. Really. But in your case, or wait till we're off the live stream, guys. Anyways, in your case, you're talking about how long do you typically keep a system going?
Shoot, it depends. I've had some systems I tear down rather quickly, and others I've run multiple broods through.
Really?
I even a system that's been up for a year still doesn't have high nitrates in my systems.
And how often do you you don't do any water changes or anything?
Well, I'm doing very small water changes when I siphon,
Mm,
which out of a 100-gallon system, I'm taking anywhere from 2 to 3 gallons once, twice a day.
mm-hmm.
And then once a month, I do an 80% water change.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's working for him, guys. So I don't know. I do know that I do think it probably makes some sort of difference that you have pre-cycled media that's, very pre-cycled, like you do it the correct way and keep pre-cycled media. But I don't think that would work. What works for you might work for someone new, but I don't know. It's a
I
great
don't know.
conversation either way.
I don't know why I don't have high nitrates because theoretically, in my eyes, I should.
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever checked a tank for nitrates since the mid 90s.
Yeah, I don't check very often because mine are fish only systems, and the only thing that nitrates are going to really bother the seahorses is they'll darken up some. But other than that, it's with fish. And some of the researchers, they told me that in their fish only systems, they didn't care if that nitrates were 100 parts per million.
Right.
Um, the headache with it, of course, is that high nitrates and phosphates can lead to a lot of nuisance algae.
Okay, gotcha. I think that someone just found the research article that they were looking for. Please post it. Feel free, and or let us know. Give us a summary for sure. Thank you for looking it up. And also, I did see earlier the question: what about keeping nutrients up during fallow periods when there's only inverts such as snails, shrimp, and hermits? What do you guys think? I'm sorry if you didn't hear it.
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dan.
no, the um, the caveat that I often run into is that people set up a tank, and I saw this recently on the new Facebook page with whatever they are, the reefer people, um, and they were saying that the tank is cycled. Well, technically the tank is cycled, but it's not prepared to handle the bio load of the seahorses, and it becomes problematic when people have already added some softies and
Yeah.
have a cleanup crew and everything in the tank. They can't really just dump ammonia in there to bring it up to speed.
Right.
So it becomes problematic when people don't understand the bio load that seahorses put on a tank. And typically, for most people, if they don't have any guidance, they'll buy the seahorses, drop them in the tank, and then they have issues. And quite often, people forget the very first thing you do whenever you have an issue is check your parameters. And quite often, they have high ammonia and high nitrites after adding the seahorses.
Gotcha. No, couldn't agree more. And just to be sure, I want to make sure that we're answering your actual question because I didn't give Dan the details of when you asked it. But I'm not. Are you speaking of a seahorse tank, or are you talking about a reef system or a macro system, or Tell me a little bit more about what exactly you're talking about so that we can make sure to give you the answers we think. Um, I'm trying, Ray, do you have any other, I'm trying to think while I'm asking you guys to talk. Do you have any other thoughts
Yeah,
about,
I do things a little bit different.
yeah, he's talking about
Reef,
reef tank.
well, as I don't have reef tanks anymore, but when I did have reef tanks, like they were up for decades, not for a year or two at a time. But I never ever checked nitrates because I figured if I was going to have a nitrate problem, then I was going to have a problem that I could see. So what's the point of testing the nitrates just to tell me something that I could see for myself without it that I had a problem?
Sure.
If you've got nuisance algae, you've got a problem, and so you know your phosphates and nitrates could be up there. And then if you're testing for them, that's not going to necessarily tell you everything anyway, because the algae may be using the product up as fast as it's being used. So when you test it, you get a nice low level, but the thing is, it's being produced in the tank and being used by that nuisance algae.
Yep.
Um, so getting a decent reading off a test kit doesn't mean dick all to you.
They do have good test kits now that supposedly tell you the difference, in the type of phosphate and all that good stuff, and show it even when it's I don't know. They've got better kits. But I do want to say I heard you getting ready to talk, Dan, but I wanted to say my quick answer, just basically, I'm just curious because you're talking about a fallow tank with just inverts, and in that kind of situation, I'm just wondering when you mean, like when you're first starting out, or if you're talking about, you had to go fallow to treat, something, or what the situation exactly that you're talking about, because that makes a difference. In any kind of fallow situation, I would think that you wouldn't be feeding the display much, obviously enough to keep it at a certain cycle tank, 2-year old tank. Why are you fallow? Was it treatment of something, or what's up? Because that kind of makes a difference. If it's really cycled and you're just trying to, I personally would only feed enough to keep the bacteria at a certain level, and I would probably be adding bacteria or probiotics. So, anyways, Dan, what were you gonna say?
Well, if the tank is fallow, if it's a reef tank, most of the time reefers with if you're adding reef organisms, if you add them slowly, in small increments, you can slowly build up the system. Whereas with seahorses, once you put them in, you're starting to dump a lot of food in the tank. If the tank has been fallow, while it's fallow, you really don't want to add organics to the tank because usually the reason you go fallow is to let organisms die.
Sure.
So if you're letting it go fallow, if there's nothing in the tank, you can just do ammonia to keep it up. But if there's stuff in the tank, that's going to be more problematic. And after the period of being fallow, you're going to have to start adding nutrients in some fashion to bring it up.
Well, he just commented that it's a marine velvet issue, and a month long. Oh, that sucks. So you did a month long quarantine and then got marine velvet anyways. I'm so freaking sorry. That sucks. Gosh, I'm so sorry. And you're outweighing the cysts. First of all, I'm not an expert on marine velvet. I would very much suggest saltwater reef and aquarium keepers group. There's a lot of jokers in there, but if you talk to someone like Me Loves Reef, if you talk to someone like Lori Johnson, if you talk to someone like who was I going to say? Even Reef Dudes, any of those folks, they will sincerely help you with that because oh, I'm sorry, Paul. Yes, Paul is the number one expert on treatment of these marine parasites, pathogens, etc. in a reef situation. So if you need me to hook you up with him, please let me know. I'd be happy to transfer you over. Or Felicia McCulley is very good too. Anyhow, they can give you further details on, if you're doing a long enough quarantine, if you're doing a long enough fallow period, if what you need, there are different people saying different things, and the reason I'm not going to is because I don't know for certain, and I'm not going to tell you wrong. So I can't really help you on the issue, and that's not what you asked anyways. You just asked about nutrients in the fallow tank. And in your situation, I agree with Dan. You're not trying to feed anything. You can't use ammonia because you got inverts in there. Number one, I would check with the people I just mentioned whether or not it's a very good idea to keep the inverts in the tank. I know there are some pathogens and parasites, I'm sorry, that you can't even leave the inverts in. And if you take the inverts out somehow, use ammonia. If not, I would personally leave it literally fallow and do nothing. Um, there's going to
While I
be
wouldn't
enough crap in
recommend it for
that tank to
somebody
feed.
new,
I'm sorry, Ray, what?
while I wouldn't recommend it for somebody new, I would disagree with your
Go ahead.
answers. I'm a great believer in using Chloramax, so I can start a tank right from day one, adding ammonia and adding the Chloramax and testing the ammonia levels. But if I have a tank that's a couple years old, I'm leaving it fallow and want to all of a sudden get it going again, I can dump the ammonia in, and I can also add the Chloramax, and it's not going to affect anything in the tank, and it'll build up the bacteria again,
So
even
wait, wait,
though,
wait, wait, wait. So you're saying you add ammonia and Chloramax to a tank with snails and shrimp?
sure,
Really?
yeah,
Well, it's something I've never done, so I'm learning here
I
too.
actually, I
The
actually
levels
add
have to be
Chloramax
kept low.
first.
What?
I add Chloramax, then I add the ammonia, and to build it up, depending on what level. A minimum of 2 parts per million, but usually I'm going up to 6 parts per million because I want a half decent load. Um, and you have to use the right test kit because some test kits will not accurately measure the ammonia when you're using a product like Chloramax. Um, and Chloramax was the one that I preferred mainly because it was the product of choice that exporters in overseas were using when they were shipping fish over here. They would put Chloramax in the bags to handle food waste, the urine of that when the fish were in long-term shipments. And I started using it here, and I found out at that time I could cycle a tank right from day one, fully loaded, or I could boost it if I was going to all of a sudden boost up the loading in the tank, and I could handle it just by putting in that Chloramax and putting in the ammonia,
Mm-hmm.
monitoring the ammonia so that if it starts showing any ammonia at all, then add some more Chloramax. And I could go on like that until I didn't have to add any more Chloramax. It was just all taken care of.
Well, that's really awesome. The really popular product here is Prime, and I know from personal experience that Prime can uh, affect cycling and affect things. So I just want anybody who tries this, based on the advice on this channel, to understand that we are not actually giving
Yeah,
advice. We're talking about our
never
own
used Prime.
experiences. And Salty, I saw that you said you made a comment if you're still in here because you're really the reef tank guy in this group, and so it's been a while since I've had to talk reef, and so I would love to hear your thoughts because your thought was how to maintain beneficial bacteria with a cleanup crew is to feed the cleanup crew. Well, and I'm just a little concerned because he's still got coral in the tank, he's still got inverts, and he's feeding reefroids. And so my only question is it, am I wrong in saying that it might be a problem? I want your opinion. Are you able to talk right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
it it kind of goes both ways. Like
Okay.
in my opinion, and this is just my opinion,
Just opinions.
but if you have coral in your tank and you have your cleanup crew and you have your beneficial bacteria and stuff, even when you go foul, I mean, you don't want that stuff to die.
Right.
So obviously, you have to keep your nutrients high enough to keep your coral alive. And my thoughts would be to feed the cleanup crew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the reefroids. I mean, that might be a little much, but it all depends on how much coral he has and how much he's feeding and stuff along those lines.
Yes, actually, I agree. And the thing is that that's why I really wish that I would ask questions before trying to answer them because I didn't realize he had coral in the tank until I'd said, yeah, just leave it. It's just snails. But you're right. I agree with you. And at this point, and a lot depends on the situation. And Ray's method is perfectly acceptable. I would just be
I would
really
urge
careful.
caution.
Yeah, I
I
would
would
be very
I would
careful.
Yeah, because if you don't understand the difference between ionized and non-ionized ammonia,
Right.
and have the kit be able to test for it instead of total ammonia, you can end up in a world of hurt if you don't know what you're doing, because you can, if you're adding ammonia at those levels, you can kill everything in a hurry by
Now,
one
that's why I was
store.
saying they don't recommend it for somebody new.
Sure. And for the record, Ray's advice is still, great, because the person speaking, the tank's over a year old. He's going fallow, to treat for treatment purposes, and that, just to let you guys know, that's why I kind of refer to a few other people, because if I'm not 100% sure, I don't ever want to tell you wrong. I can give my opinion, we can share our experiences, but that's all. If I think someone else might
Even
know
in a
better,
even in a fallow tank, all of your nitrifying bacteria are not going to go away, and you can bring it back up in a hurry,
sure.
because there's still organisms in there, still ammonia being produced, albeit at a very lower level. But a system that's been already cycled, that the nitrification capability is dropped, will come back up much quicker than a new system.
Agreed 100%. And that's, honestly, my biggest fears are in that I've talked to Paul too much. And if you ever talk to Paul, I can't pronounce his last name, Poescl, I believe. He is a serious, truly expert on these topics of like marine velvet and crypto canary, blah, 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 and all of those good, fun topics. And, he informed me of enough that I know that there are certain things that are correct and certain things that aren't. And I can't remember them all, so please go talk to him about the fallow period and that kind of thing. But, and I'll ask him for some advice and maybe bring it on next. Oh, unless we have the special guest next week. If we do, then I'll make sure to get you some better answers, from a pro. Okay? Sound good? And you can talk to Salty, because
Speaking
Salty's
of
very
marine
good too.
velvet,
What, Ray?
speaking of marine velvet, I'd like to know why people think that a quarantine of something is going to prevent marine velvet. I don't think quarantine in itself is going to prevent anything. You can put a fish, or you can put mackerel or corals or anything in quarantine, and many diseases or parasites can be there and not exhibit any sign of anything when they're in quarantine. And when you put them into the real life situation, if the right stressors are there, then all of a sudden the problem shows up.
Right.
If you want to take care of marine velvet and you don't know for sure it's there, but if you want to be sure it's not going in, you have to treat in the, instead of quarantine, treat it in a hospital tank
Mhm.
and treat it until it does have the marine velvet. And then after the process is through, then I would say then you're pretty well clear to go.
All right. Well,
But in
here
my years, I never ever expected quarantining to do anything other than show me if it's showing up real easy. But
I do agree to you to some extent. For instance, with macros, I should have been more specific and let you guys know that when I talked about quarantining macros, I'm talking about an observational quarantine in most cases, which Ray's saying is no good. But the thing is, if you know tricks like putting a food source into the quarantine tank, then the aptasia will come out. He's right. Aptasia won't come out unless there's a food source. So there's specific keys based on what you're trying to resolve. I still think that observational quarantine is a decent method in certain scenarios. Uh, as the person speaking to us about the marine velvet situation, he now does more of a hospital tank type quarantine situation where he's treating with cupramine. A lot of these things depend on the fish. I don't advise certain things for seahorses. It really does depend on the situation, guys. There's good answers for different situations. And so I do think observational quarantine is still good. I think that hospital tank treatment is good as long as you're okay with it. And everything depends on your goal. What were you going to say, Dan?
No, I was just seahorses handle copper just fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying a lot of people have a problem with treating a seahorse or any fish that they don't know there's a problem with. I personally pre-treat, so I can't really speak to it. but I think observational quarantine is good also. You just have to know to, put it in a feeding source, and you have to understand that if it's a fish, you need to leave it in for an extended period of time. I know Cheryl quarantined seahorses for like 6 months and macros just because there's more likely to have enough buildup that things will expose themselves within 6 months. A month quarantine that's just observation, yeah, that's probably not going to cut it. And you already know that because you've changed your quarantine method. I'm sorry you had to go through that, though. I'm so sorry. But yeah, observational is usually like 6 months. I think 3 months is the fish protocol, and treatment is, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to tell you incorrectly. Go ahead, Dan.
No,
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to get Paul in here, dang it. That's my next goal because he promised me last year he was going to come on Wine Wednesday. We were supposed to do it while we were at Macna, and I dropped the ball. So I'm going to get his butt in here. He's promised me. So I'll get him in here to talk about all this stuff, you guys, and we can ask him all these questions, and he'll love being jumped. I know it. But he does know. He's done the science. I do know that there's the observational, the hospital, and then tank transfer. A lot of people really like tank transfer when you're looking at parasites. I just don't feel comfortable making statements I can't back up. So I will get him in here. And yes, I agree with the less extensive half dosage as hospital tank. Salty, please feel free to give any advice in the comments because at this point, you know as much as I do. I don't want to say anything wrong. And
Well,
go ahead.
for the whole like quarantine thing, I don't think I don't think people expect like quarantine's gonna prevent diseases.
Right.
I think it's more of a like an observation. It's a chance to catch it before you introduce it to your main display.
And then
Precautionary
treat.
measure.
Right. And then treat if there's
Treat.
Sorry.
Yeah, like the way I quarantine is
Please tell
basically
us.
observation for at least 2 weeks, and then medication if needed. But if I don't need any medication, I don't use it. And the first method I try before any actual medication is just hyposalinity rather than copper or cupamine.
I'm listening.
So I don't believe in, and this is just my opinion. Like I don't know, but I think treating with cupamine or chemicals or anything like that just to treat, I don't think it's necessary at all.
Okay.
But I mean, if you show signs of stuff, then yeah, okay. But
I will say this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I will say this, that all of the actual facilities, like public aquariums and such, they all pre-treat. So as hobbyists, we often find that that's uh, doesn't leave a good taste in our mouths, and we choose not to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But I do know that most of the professionals do pre-treat. I know everybody freaked out when people, like Dan and Alyssa started talking about how they deal with fry and using what is it, Dan, that you guys use? Panicar?
no, it's formalin, but
Formalin.
that's a
Sorry,
little bit different.
it is.
In a public aquarium scenario, they have a lot at risk with the displays and the money they have invested in this stuff. I don't believe in doing pre-treatment if it's not an indication to do so, but I understand why. And
But do
in
you
this
not
hobby,
pre-treat
medication
seahorses?
is used way too much.
Agreed. But do you not pre-treat seahorses?
No, I don't.
I thought you just said you use formalin.
Well, with fry, I use formalin, yes, but I'm talking about in a quarantine situation.
For
If I'm
new
bringing
seahorses.
in,
Okay.
yeah, if I'm bringing in seahorses, I'll observe first and I'll treat if necessary. But um, I'm not looking to treat if I don't need to.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, yeah, no, and you're right, and that's true. Public aquariums are a different situation. So yeah, it's just what you're willing to. And Tina said, "Go ahead, Dan."
A fry system is a lot different because a fry system is a system designed to be treatable to begin with. Um, but I'm not using antibiotics or anything like that. We're simply using an antiparasitic because of the high nutrient load. You end up with the fast growing ciliates.
Gotcha. And I saw Tina's comment that she's been wiped out by marine velvet, and that's why you won't go without a quarantine with meds. yeah, it's just such a slippery, slopery topic that, we can sit here and discuss it and give opinions, but on my final 2 cents is that I'm going to get somebody who literally can back it up with science in here to give us the down low. That's my promise to you guys. Um, but anyway, Salty, were you done? I feel like I interrupted you. Is he gone? Okay, well, if I did, I
Yeah.
have. Go ahead.
No, I mean I was pretty much done.
Okay. Well, I don't disagree with you. I just like to kind of throw out, you know, different topics of debate. But,
I
and
agree with Dan too on not treating with antibiotics. But
the
when we're dealing with
resistance thing.
parasites, um, then I believe in doing the preventive. But antibiotics, like, what's the point? Because you can't stop the bacteria at any point, whereas you can drastically reduce the chances of passing many other parasitic diseases from getting in. And you can even with ictos, it's a problem because I, I'm a believer that ick is always present, and if the conditions are right for it, and where fishes are getting stressed enough, then the ick's going to come to the forefront. I don't think you can totally eliminate it from a tank, but there are things like marine velvet. I've never been unlucky enough to have to deal with it, but from what my understanding was of it in those years that I was involved in the reef tanks, that it is something that did stand a good chance of being controlled if you treated beforehand.
All right. Well,
Once it's in your tank, though, I think it's
yeah.
next to impossible to do anything without sterilizing everything.
Well, here's what I'm going to do, you guys. I'm going to do a post to Paul and maybe even Felicia, and tell them that they're very highly requested on Wine Wednesday when they have available time. And what I need everybody who's watching this to do is comment on the post once I make it and go ahead and re-tag these people. They'll love it, I promise. Re-tag them and tell them that you'd like them to come on Wine Wednesday. And then we'll get them in here to answer some questions. They're going to be so happy with me. All right. Anyways, go on. Were you going to say something, Dan?
Nope, listening.
I thought I heard you pipe up. Okay, because there are a lot of different opinions on the subject, and I used to have a pretty good idea of the answers to these questions, but I don't know. And I appreciate Ray all of your thoughts because you could very well be right. I'm not educated enough about the
Well, I
topic to
never
say.
claim to be right. I only claim to have opinions that are based on experiences that I've had over the years.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So we'll re-pick up this topic very soon. And again, either way, sir, I am so very sorry that you're dealing with this, and I'm even more sorry that we can't give you exact definitive answers at this time. But I'll make sure we make up for it, and I really hope that the new system that you've put into place works better for you because I know how bad it sucks to have a tank that you just can't fix, and it's just forever to fix it, and it's just awful. I feel for you terribly, but
Okay, in that hospital tank there, I'm just reading here, told to do less intensive, 1/2 dosage as hospital tank if used for that reason. I'm wondering what the theory is behind doing half a dosage. If you know that it has a problem, a specific parasite or something, you wouldn't do a half dose. So if you're doing it as preventative treatment, why would you do a half dose when a full dose is what is accepted probably as being what's needed? And if there's no sign of it and you're just trying to be um, proactive, why go with a half dose instead of a full dose?
good question. Good question. I don't have an answer for that.
I've never seen that recommendation.
Well, I think it's really hard for a lot of hobbyists to pre-treat is the bottom line. And as we've discussed, it's not a really great plan. Frankly, if the fish in question can be purchased captive bred, you avoid a lot of these issues by just buying captive bred. I know there's a lot of fish and reef fish that are not in that situation yet, but hopefully someday they will be, so we don't have all these troubles. Um, and yeah, we will ask. What can you tell me where you got the opinion to do a half dose, and what the thought process was behind that? We're curious to know. And yeah, and I think Ray, I think a lot has to do with. Well, I don't know because he's talking about hospital versus. I think when coral's involved, it's really tough. It's really tough. And I know that's not in the quarantine situation. What were you going to say, Salty?
I think he's talking about like just pre-treating just the treat. I've actually seen a lot of recommendations on doing the half dose as a pre-treatment. Don't know the science
What's the
behind it.
theory though, Salty?
I I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm just saying. I've seen it. I've seen it recommended, and I've seen it on a couple different places where, as a pre-treatment, they do recommend doing the half the dose, which to me makes no sense. Going back to where I don't pre-treat unless I physically see something wrong with the fish, then I treat, and then I would do the full dose.
And really, honestly, if you get down to it, there are certain fish that are more prone. Ray has the opinion that like things like ick or crypto are always in the display. I don't share that opinion, but I can't exactly remember why. I just remember learning that it wasn't true. And these random opinions everywhere are what's dangerous. So that's why, again, I'll bring a pro in, but I don't disagree with anyone here particularly. That half treatment doesn't really particularly make sense. I think that's more of an emotional response, and why, again, I want to get the best info in here to share. But
The only thing that I could think of that would kind of make sense would be like what you said earlier, that some fish are actually more sensitive to copper, so maybe they're recommending a half dose just in general to prevent something like that happening, like killing a fish by using a full dose.
right,
But there's lots of other medications other than copper.
I agree.
with marine
But
velvet,
you're
I
not
think
going to
they
treat
really think that.
marine velvet with copper.
What do you treat marine velvet with, Ray?
I don't remember now, but it wasn't copper. I never had it, but from what was being used back in the 90s,
Right.
it definitely wasn't copper.
Mm. I don't remember either, to be completely honest. So, yeah. Um,
Whatever it was, I probably still have some because I went and got everything I thought I needed back then, and a lot of it never ever used.
Right. See, and that's one thing to keep in mind, folks, is that all of us have made all of these mistakes, just like you, and we know what worked for us, and things might be different now. But yeah, aside from bringing somebody in, I really don't want to make any other comments. I noticed Dan is being very quiet because it's just such a touchy subject, and until I know exactly what I'm saying, I don't have really anything else to say. Uh, but I agree with what all the conversation thus far, and we'll try to get these questions answered.
Well, if I see a logical explanation for half dose, then if my mind gets around the scientific part of it, then I'll accept it.
I've seen things like that when there's inverts involved and things that are, as Salty pointed out, really sensitive to certain medications. That's when I've seen that. But again, it's been a while since I even looked any of this stuff up or talked to anybody about it. So. And Kim, thanks for the nice on the food source for Aptasia. Right. Gotcha. All right. Dan, I do want to ask real quick because I know we've been rambling on. Anything new with you? You doing okay?
Still kicking.
Still kicking? Yes, I'm trying to shy away from the subject. I am. It's such a hot topic. Nothing going on at all? Nothing you want to share? Nothing new in the group? Nothing?
Nothing new on seahorses. Took my daughter up at the beginning of the week and finally got her a car, so we got that out of the way.
Yay.
So we're back to having two vehicles in the household again.
Nice.
I still need a truck, but I don't know what I'm going to do about that in the short term.
Aren't you just going to drop another motor in it?
No, it's not worth the cost of doing it.
That sucks.
Around here, that would probably be the first choice people did. So the
Yeah,
rest
but I've
pick
got
up
I've got a
another.
lot of issues. I got other issues with the vehicle that I was going to have to address, and if I
Oh,
get
I
through
see.
redoing everything,
Yeah,
plus I've hauled salt water in the back, and I've got rust in the frame and everything, so
yeah.
it's not a it's not worth
Not
putting the
practical
investment
in
into it.
taking the whole thing into consideration.
Yeah, I'd be better off going and buying a 2 grand beater up than to try to fix that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're back. Okay. I was trying to hide. Go ahead.
We should have a wet weekend in Florida though.
That's what Ray asked me the moment we got live. How the weather was here, and it's very cold here. But is something else going on that I don't haven't been aware of?
We
We're
got a
getting a little bit of the weather here now.
we have a system in the tropics that's trying to develop. It's going to move up into Florida this weekend, but it's not going to be a hurricane. We may have a tropical depression, but uh, more likely it's just going to be a low pressure that's going to bring us a wet weekend.
Mm,
There are a couple of other storms though that bear watching that are out there coming this way.
scary. I don't know how you guys do it with the constant storms coming. Scary. And you said, Ray, it's cold up there. You got some weather up there? Bad weather?
Actually, today it's hot for the time of the year. It's 28 degrees and very humid because the rain started last night, and then it was overcast most of the day and raining off and on, but the humidity level's high because of that heat and the moisture that's around. This time of the year, on a day like today, we would expect it to be more in the range of 21 or 22.
Hmm.
So the next few days now are going to be hot before we get back a little bit cooler. And our nights, we would expect to be down around 11 to 14, say. And right now, I don't think it got down below 19 last night.
Hmm.
That's
Gosh.
Celsius, by the way.
I knew that. I'm nodding because I can't convert, so I'm just nodding. I believe you.
And 20 degrees Celsius is 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Gotcha. Well, okay. I still, yeah. If it's different and you don't like it, I'm sorry. How's that?
I can give you a formula for calculating it if you want.
I have one. I just suck at it. I'm as bad with that as pronouncing the correct names and terms. I'm really bad with conversions and pronunciations. And I think Sam left me. She laughed at me and left. But anyways, well, you know, I don't know what to say about it. I'm sorry, this weather's changing. And Tina's hot and humid over there too. Storms popping up all over. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Well, I hope everyone's weather gets better. It's just kind of chilly here, so I can't complain much. Let's see. Alan Tooth 48 has asked, "What species of seahorse is good for a beginner?" Dan, would you like to field this question?
Live ones.
Ray said live ones. Sorry.
I don't know. Seahorse magnets are easy to keep.
He's kidding, guys. Go on.
The the most common seahorse that people start off with is H. erectus, and that's for a variety of reasons. The first reason is that they're one of the most widely available, one of the most economical. Um, my personal take is Erectus, Reedii, Cuda are all equal in hardiness, but a lot of people perceive the um, Erectus as being more hardier because they are more of a glutton for food. So the Erectus are easier to feed, where some of the other species can be slower or more picky about feeding. And even though a lot of people recommend Erectus for beginners, almost all of your more experienced people have them as well.
I will
I
mention
started
that
with Reedii myself,
Ray,
but that was
you're
because it was the
crazy.
only one available here in Canada.
I was gonna say Ray's nuts. Reedii are a little pickier and they're a little more difficult. But I will
I
say,
don't agree. I disagree there. I think that may be in the eyes of the beholder, or maybe it's where they come from. But any of the Reedii I've had were equal to the Erectus in feeding.
Ray, are
Well,
you my husband in disguise? Because he argues with everything I say too. Go ahead.
Ray, I'll tell you from my experience in dealing with thousands of Reedii, I find them to be, yeah, there are some that are equal to Erectus, but by and large, I find they're a pickier animal in feeding than the Erectus are. I
I've
swear the
never had
Erectus
any
will
before.
snatch a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out of your hand as you pass the tank if you let them.
I want to mention very quickly that Alan Tooth 48, my personal answer would be it depends on where you are personally located. And that truly depends on the type of seahorse that will be easiest for you to obtain and raise. Because if you're in Australia, they can't get Erectus. And Chris Carey was actually on the stream a few weeks ago, and we talked afterwards. And Seahorse Australia actually considers H. whitei one of the easiest seahorses to care for. And now for the U.S., this is considered an endangered, species. We can't touch them, or we probably can, but we don't. We don't have them imported. And the bottom line is that over there, you're able to get them. And based on talking with Chris on a personal level, I really think that they're probably equivalent, but smaller than Erectus. But as far as care, that's what I would probably recommend if you're in Australia. Whereas if you're in the U.S., I'm going to agree with Dan and say Erectus. But it depends on where you're at and what you can obtain. So
The easiest I've ever had out of about 7 is the Epps. I've never had anything that ate like them. Like they put the Erectus to shame.
actually, a
And
lot. Go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
and as far as problems, I don't have any problems with them. I can leave that tank till the moon comes out. In what do you call that? Where they black out. Every once in a while, I can leave a tank that long, and it probably wouldn't have any problems.
To be honest, I think every person that I've asked, you made a good point, because every person I've asked, every breeder, every expert, always say Hippocampus abdominalis, but they need the chiller. So it depends also
They need the
on
chiller and they need a bigger tank.
right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Thank
well,
you.
I've got the bigger tank in there, but I use a little 5,000 BTU air conditioner because I bought it for $50, and so it controls that area so that the temperature doesn't get over 68.
Right.
Keep doing, the tank stays down there.
Ray has some great methods, but you guys got to remember he's a pro. So anybody starting out with abdominalis, I would
Well, I'm just
absolutely
an
recommend.
experiment.
Well, I know, but I just am afraid when you say things, I'm so afraid somebody new is going to try it. I would love to try with the things you do, but and anyone is welcome to, but just for the record, this channel does not back up anything. These are opinions. We just talk experience and etc. No guarantees. And Chimp, hey, I just wanted to interrupt really quickly and say, Chimp, we had a great discussion on marine velvet and quarantine procedures and things like that. So if you have any opinions on that, pipe up now. Read the comments maybe, or give your opinion on fallow period. The original question, I believe, was how to keep nutrients at bay and the tank cycled and etc. during a fallow period. So any thoughts you have, we'd love to hear them. But hi, and okay, now I got myself lost. Oh, I one more thing. Sorry if you guys were still having a conversation, but really quickly, I noticed that when I turn off my webcam, I just wanted to tell everybody. I'm going to turn you guys off too, actually, really quick. Okay, so if you guys are looking at the screen and you can't see us right now, I apologize, but I just wanted to tell you that in the background of this image, up in the, I think it's right-hand corner to you guys, wherever it's blue in the corner, that is octodes, blue octodes. The fauchea, or however you pronounce it, is down at an angle, the rose looking algae. Red grape is obviously in the background, all along the background. You've got a little green grape in there also. And then the tuft algae that I was speaking of, that's one of my absolute favorites, is in the middle. It looks as if it's coming out of the wine glass. So there's some pictures for you just to familiarize you with what I was talking about earlier. And also at the very bottom, those are again octodes, and just showing you the difference in coloration based on lighting. Okay, sorry, I had to get that out,
Send me a
guys.
batch of each.
Huh?
Send me a batch of each.
I wish I could. I could try. I really could, but
I'd
anyways.
pick it up at the border.
I don't have scroll in this picture, but I'll try to put some pictures up of scroll later. So, and next time I'll try to be more prepared with pictures ready. And I guess I'm missing the conversation. Were you guys saying anything else? Did I interrupt you? I'm sorry. Sounds like somebody's opening the garage there. Hi to anyone who joined afterwards, David, Annette, Kurt. Whether you see this now or later, thanks so much for joining us for a little bit. I'm probably not going to go much longer, guys, because I got to go do a post to Paul and Felicia and Lori, maybe. But, anyways, Eric agreed that the species which is easiest depends on which we can obtain in our area. He has exclusive experience with Erectus and agrees they're very easy. Good evening, Edson. I was just getting ready. You always come in when I'm about to cut the stream, but would love to hear how you're doing real quick. Let us know if you'd like. Ray, were you saying anything else? Did I interrupt you, or did you finish what you were saying?
No,
Okay.
I'm probably always saying something, but I interrupt everybody else all the time.
Well, me too. So it's the way we roll. That's why, just to let you guys know, when I do have the guest interviews on, I probably won't send links to anybody except for the guest. Let them do the actual interview, answering any of the original questions, but I'll keep it short, like 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll let you guys join and ask any all questions. And I see Chimp's asking about Reef Flux. Sorry, I'm going to call you out for every comment, guys, but I'm interested in Reef Flux also. I've seen some of the posts and some of the information. I'm curious about that also. And Alan Tooth wanted to know, does
What
anyone...
is it?
It's like a monitoring type situation. A new... Or it might be the app. I'm not sure. There's a couple of different things I was looking at. So, Chimp, tell us what Reflux is. And Alan Tooth 48 asked if there's any seahorses, I'm assuming, for sale in the Tampa Bay area. He lives in Dunedin. Dan, is there any seahorses for sale in Tampa Bay area?
I would call that Dunedin. That's a Canadian pronunciation.
Well,
Well,
I don't pronounce things very well. I admit that. Dan, are there any?
My advice is not to buy based on location, to buy based upon reputation.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's seahorses to be found over there that are for sale, but you'll get a higher quality as a rule by going to a reputable source.
Correct. And I'll just mention that online you've got seahorsesource.com, which Dan is not wanting to mention because he owns seahorsesource.com. Very good company. Also, seahorse.savvy.com are my two favorites. There's also a few smaller breeders, you can find in the area. If there's anyone in the comments that is in the area and sells, feel free to say so. We all got opinions here, And, well, I'm an idiot. Reflux is I can't pronounce it, man. A treatment that kills bryopsis? Really? I was thinking it was the new monitor app. Okay, well, I'm still curious about reflux. I've never heard of it. Now I'm going to have to Google it.
maybe he was thinking of it as a treatment for the mackerel that Sam's having a problem with.
Right. I'm actually going to ask Krista too, because I know she did a lot of experimenting with dipping macros and getting rid of certain algae. So I'll ask her opinions. And yes, I can post those. I only had 2 sources, sir, but you can also look at your local reef clubs. But I will. Let me see if I can find the dang chat here. But I will absolutely post those sources for you. Or Dan, can you? I don't know if I can. Here we go. I got it. Never mind. Here we go. And I'm Googling the reflux, but feel free to make any comments. And you guys, I'm going to post these 2 links if I'm able to. It's taking forever. And then I'm anything else you guys want to chat about, let us know, because I'm probably going to call it here in a minute. We've been going quite a long time. Okay, this is taking forever. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, it's not working. I'll put the links in the comments, okay? Because it's not letting me type anything. I'm sorry. When we
Salty
go,
got me one.
when we go for a while, my computer, I need a better computer. Oh, here we go. Salty put it up there. There we go. And do Savvy also, please, Salty. Thank you so much. My great mods in here. They're so fantastic. All right. Anyhow, okay, guys. Anything else we need to discuss or talk about or any of that good stuff? No. All right then. Well, Edson, I'm so sorry that you come in and we leave, but it's 10 o'clock. We've been going for 2 hours. We've talked about everything under the sun, and I have to prepare for hopefully next week's special guest. And I will try to get someone in here to talk about uh, marine. I can't even think of the word. What's the word, Ray? Marine.
The marine velvet.
Yes, marine velvet. I couldn't think of it. I'm on the second glass, dang it. But anyhow, and Zach said, okay, we're still talking reflux. Zach Cave said marketed against fungal infections, but known in reef community against cholera and bryopsis. Really? Huh. Well, now I'm going to go research this because I really thought he was talking about the new app. I'm so lost. All right. So,
It's
yeah.
interesting to know.
What was it?
It's interesting to know.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and it does. It says antifungal treatment, Reef HD,
And Sam,
fluconose,
if you
no,
use it, let us know how it
fluconazole.
works.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, if Sam uses it, have her let us know how it
Yes,
worked out.
I know Sam comes back to and watches this later. So if you're able to obtain reflux and try it, please let us know if it works out for you. I have a tank I could actually try it on too. So bryopsis is not my friend, but yeah, I'm curious to know more about it because I didn't have such a great experience with Vibrant. I know some people have, I just didn't. So some of these treatments, in fact, Dan, I'm terrible at pronunciation, but this word looks very familiar, like it's got another like meaning or a brand name. How about fluconazole? Fluke, fluconazole.
Fluconazole, fluke.
Fluconazole.
Yeah, that's close.
What is it?
I, I'd have to look it up to
Okay.
remember exactly what it is, but I think it's oh shoot.
I know it looks so familiar, but I know it's in something else I've seen before. But
Yeah, we don't use it with seahorses, so
okay,
I don't have it on the
gotcha.
embedded in my head.
Okay.
I can pull one of the books and tell you.
Well, pull it and let us know in the comments, or next week or the week after or something. Is it antibiotic? I didn't think it was for some reason, but yeah. So now you've piped my interest there, Chimp. Thank you. So I'm gonna look it up and we'll have to talk about that a little bit more. I see a bunch of videos on it, so apparently it's being tried by many. I had a few friends that
But
had bryopsis that it just nothing worked. Go ahead, Salty.
the fluconazole
Fluconazole is
is,
that how you say it?
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know, but it's actually an antifungal to treat yeast infections.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. Alrighty.
That and candida and things like that.
Wow. Well, learn something new every day, apparently. And Tina's saying it's antimicrobial. Interesting. Well, have you guys had luck with it? Have you used it? Because I certainly don't recommend things unless I've either used it or know somebody who I trust that's used it. So tell me your stories for sure. If you don't get a chance to say it in the comments, message me or post it on Seahorse Whisperer Society. I like to hear stories. I want to hear about topics you guys want to hear about on future Wine Wednesdays. So, put your post up and post comments and post requests for sure. Tina's trying it for the first time. Tina, we would love to hear more about it, and we'll be happy to share any videos you make. If you can, post it up on Seahorse Whisperer Society on Facebook, we would love it. And Chimp said it killed his bryopsis and nothing else in 2 to 3 weeks. No kidding. Wow. You got a video, Chimp? Go ahead and post your link to your video if you have one, because I'd love to see and learn more about that, because bryopsis is out. So, yeah. And nope, Tina. Well, I'm going to message you and find out anyways how it goes for you. But good luck either way, for sure. And I'll try to find out more about it, guys. But anyhow, all right. So, Salty, anything we missed? Anything else we need to? Did somebody just join? No. Okay.
Salty just put up a link.
Okay. Anything else we missed or need to chat about? Zach Cave said that the product, which Salty posted a link to, blocks certain enzymatic pathways in algae growth. He doesn't have a video, but the late Dave's nanotank. The late Dave's nanotanks? What do you mean the late? What happened to Dave? Oh, Chimp, I need to know now. What happened to Dave's nanotanks? Oh no, I'm gonna be so upset now. But tell me you just mean he stopped making videos, please. And
No.
no, what happened to Dave?
Dave passed away.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna stop the stream now. Really, because I'm gonna stop the stream now. Happy Wine Wednesday, everybody. Sorry nobody got a chance to say bye.